They called it Wonderland, but the map leads somewhere far darker than a dream. Welcome, mystic seekers. Once upon a time, a curious girl fell into a world of talking animals, vanishing cats, and endless tea parties. We were told it was a fantasy, a child's dream, crafted by Lewis Carroll in 1865, meant to celebrate imagination itself. But behind the teacups and riddles lies something ancient, something occult, a descent, not into wonder, but into the fractured mirror of the human mind. Was Alice really exploring another world, or was she escaping her own? And what secrets does Wonderland still whisper about the nature of reality and the madness hidden in innocence? Tonight, we follow Alice, not through the pages of a children's book, but through the labyrinth of symbols, fears, and forbidden meanings buried beneath it. Summer 1862. The River Thames. A quiet Oxford afternoon, Lewis Carroll, real name Charles Lutwidge Dodgson, rows down the river with 3 little girls, the daughters of his colleague, Henry Lipp. Among them is 10-year-old Alice. Historians agree this is the day the story was born. Carroll begins weaving a tale of a girl who falls into another world, a world that bends logic, time, and reason. But what began as a charming afternoon story was shaped by something darker. Carroll was a mathematician, obsessed with logic, paradox, and the boundaries of perception. In an era haunted by strict morality and religious repression, Carroll's imagination became a rebellion, a descent into the subconscious before psychology had a name for it. Alice's journey wasn't just a dream. It was a symbolic revolt, a confrontation with the limits of reason itself. But the river's calm surface hit a turbulent waters, and soon the story would begin to write him back. The fall begins. Alice sees a white rabbit, dressed in a waistcoat, checking a pocket watch, and follows him down the hole. To most readers, it's simple curiosity, but to occultists, it's initiation. The rabbit hole mirrors the alchemical descent, a symbolic death before transformation. The tunnel spirals downward like a womb, like the subconscious. When Alice lands in a hall of locked doors, she faces the first trial of every initiate. The threshold. She must shrink, drink, grow, and distort, losing her form again and again before she can pass through the tiny door into the garden beyond. The white rabbit becomes a psychopomp, a guide between worlds like Hermes, Anubis, or the shamanic trickster. What seems like nonsense is ritual. The death of the ordinary self, the beginning of metamorphosis. But every descent carries a price. Inside Wonderland, logic unravels. The Mad Hatter speaks in riddles that loop forever. The Queen shouts, 4 heads to roll. The Cheshire Cat smiles without a body. To the Victorian mind, this was nonsense. But to the modern one, it looks like a map of the psyche. Each character embodies a fragment of the human mind. The manic, the cruel, the detached. Wonderland is not a place, it's a disintegrated consciousness. Carroll's world reflects the dream logic Freud would later describe decades before Freud himself. Time is broken, identity melts, and madness becomes not an illness, but a mirror. The longer Alice stays, the more she becomes part of the chaos, her sense of self dissolving, her words looping like the riddles she once mocked. But that was only the beginning. Off with her head, the Queen of Hearts rules Wonderland with bloodlust and hysteria. But Carroll never explains why she is feared. Her power is all performance, her threats absurd. She is the embodiment of ego, the false ruler of the inner kingdom, loud, fragile, insecure, and hungry for control. Alice's defiance, her refusal to bow, marks her awakening. She begins to see that the Queen's power is an illusion. In this moment, the story stops being a dream and becomes a confrontation. The child facing the adult world's authority, the pure soul standing before the madness of order itself. The Queen is every system that punishes curiosity, every voice that screams, "Do not ask." But rebellion has its own shadow. In Asterisk, Through the Looking Glass 1871, the sequel, Kara shifts the stage from the rabbit hole to the mirror. Mirrors are portals, not just in myth, but in mysticism. They divide the self. Alice steps through the reflection and finds a world reversed left becomes right. Time moves backward. Chess pieces come alive. Here, Kara plays with duality, good and evil, logic and chaos, self and shadow. In Jungian terms, the mirror represents individuation. The painful recognition of one's opposite. Alice meets her own reflection, a symbolic confrontation with the unconscious self. She must move across the chessboard, square by square, to become a queen, to reclaim sovereignty over her divided mind. But what happens when a dreamer takes the throne? Symbols of alchemy run through every chapter. The drink me potion and eat me cake recall the alchemist's search for transmutation, consuming elements to transform the body and soul. The caterpillar smoking a hookah sits atop a mushroom, the ancient symbol of altered consciousness, of death and rebirth. The constant shifting of size, growing and shrinking, mirrors the alchemical process of solbe et coagula, dissolution and recombination. To some occult interpretations, Alice's journey is a map of spiritual awakening disguised as a child's dream. The rabbit hole is descent. The tea party is chaos. The Queen's court is the trial. The awakening is rebirth, a hidden manual for the soul, masked as madness. But behind the symbols lies the man himself and his own descent. Carroll's relationship with reality was as fragile as Wonderland's logic. He was shy, withdrawn, haunted by stammers and spiritual doubt. His friendship with Alice Little became the center of his creative world and the source of later controversy. As scholars debated whether his affection crossed moral boundaries, perhaps Wonderland was his escape or his confession, a world where he could fragment himself into the hatter, the rabbit, the cat, all the self-society would never allow him to be. In creating a dream for Alice, Carroll may have built a cage for his own sanity. Innocence in Wonderland is not safety. It's vulnerability. Alice's curiosity, the traits we are told to admire, becomes the very thing that traps her. Every question leads deeper into chaos. Every answer births new riddles. It's the eternal paradox of knowledge. The closer you come to truth, the more it dissolves. Perhaps Carroll's greatest revelation wasn't about madness at all, but about the cost of awakening. To see the world as it is, one must first fall from the comfort of logic. Let's look closer. The Cheshire Cat, the eternal smile, represents the illusion of meaning. It fades, but the grin remains, mocking our need for sense in chaos. The Mad Hatter's Tea Party is the cycle of time, endless repetition, the curse of consciousness that cannot rest. The caterpillar is the teacher, cryptic, distant, always asking, "Who are you?" The White Queen and Red Queen form the dual poles of spirit and matter, light and blood, creation and destruction. Each symbol, hidden under nursery whimsy, forms Occult. Carroll's nonsense is a mirror to Victorian society. Its hypocrisies, its suppression of individuality, its fear of change. Wonderland wasn't a dream world. It was a warning. Alice's journey ends where it began, awakening from the dream. But the dream does not release her. It transforms her. In a world ruled by rigid order, Carroll gave her, and us, a glimpse of something forbidden. The chaos that gives birth to meaning. The descent into madness was never a fall. It was initiation. Disney told us Wonderland was whimsical nonsense. Carroll told us Wonderland was truth, disguised as insanity. Perhaps madness is not the loss of reason, but the realization that reason was never the whole story. Alice woke up, they say. But maybe she didn't. Maybe she carried Wonderland with her, as we all do.
Today, the story lives on, not just in film, but in countless narratives that echo its pattern. The powerful man and the healing woman, the cage made of affection, the illusion that transformation comes from love, not accountability. Villeneuve's warning was prophetic. She saw the danger of romanticizing domination, how easily the beast could hide behind tenderness. Because in every generation, the mask simply changes. The beast becomes a genius, a prince, a tortured soul. And beauty is told to understand him. But sometimes, understanding is the first step towards surrender. Beauty and the Beast is more than a fairy tale. It's a mirror of societal control. The beast represents unrestrained authority. Beauty symbolizes the moral expectation of purity and forgiveness placed on women. The Trozny marks the ticking clock of emotional labor. And the kid mirror, the gaze of patriarchy itself, ever watching, ever judging. Beneath its charm, the tale reveals the paradox of love and power. To love someone is to risk being consumed by their need. To be adored is to risk forgetting yourself. Disney told us that monsters can change through love. Villeneuve told us that monsters are created by power and sustained by silence. The beast was not cursed by magic but by ego. Beauty was not chosen for her purity but for her compliance. The true curse of Beauty and the Beast is not transformation, it's repetition. Generation after generation, we keep telling the same story. That suffering is noble. That love is endurance. That control can be romantic. But maybe, just maybe, the real act of love is to walk away from the castle. Maybe Beauty was never meant to save the Beast. Maybe she was meant to see the Beast in us all. If you made it this far, leave a like and subscribe to join our growing circle of mystic seekers. Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and as always, stay mystical.